Hey folks, it's your right lane cowboy with another milepost musing today. Hey, I'm a little intrigued by what I heard last night out of a driver's mouth. You know, one of those guys that like to sit around and tell stories that are so outrageous that all you can do is call BS on them, you know. I mean, it's neither here nor there. Sometimes I use those, like I said in an earlier video, I'll use them as a choose your own ending story. But anyway, what he said was kind of, well, it piqued my interest. I had a hard time contemplating it, not contemplating it, you know, contemplating it, just kind of figuring out what the hell he was trying to talk about. He said, I wish we could just snap our fingers and get rid of all the bad people. All the dumb people, all the people that hurt the economy, the people that hurt other people, you know. And I told him, I said, that's a, how did I put it, a fairy tale way of thinking. And I kind of pissed him off. And I was like, I told him, slow your roll. Don't get mad at me. Just hear me out. I was nice enough to hear him out, and I'll just be nice enough to hear me out. So we did. And I said, that's a great thought, but if people were to act on, or be able to act on a thought that crosses the gray matter without saying, then what? Good God, this world would be in a world of hurt. It probably wouldn't even exist. We probably would have annihilated mankind. Anyway, he says, what do you mean by then what? I said, okay, so we get rid of all the bad stuff. Everything's good, perfect, awesome, right? He goes, yeah. I said, what measure do you have to know what not to be? He goes, well, I already know what not to be. I was like, yeah, you know what not to be because of the bad stuff that you've encountered in your life. A fish doesn't know that it's wet. It only knows that it is. You know, just existent. Most fish stay in the water. You know, there's some fish that dry up, and I can't think of what they're called, like a mud something. I forget what they are, but anyway, their heart rate goes down to like 1 beat per eon, and then a little bit of water hits their mouth, and all of a sudden, boom, they're alive again, and they can stay in that condition for years. It's quite amazing. But most fish in the ocean or in the lakes or the rivers don't know what it is to be dry. Therefore, they only know wet, so they don't have a differentiation. They don't have a need to ask then what. If that makes any sense, you know, it's kind of a far-fetched correlation, but it's still there. The concept is still there. If you have nothing but nice people, nothing but everything is perfect, nothing can go wrong ever in our life, we would never have a measure of what not to be. We wouldn't know that we were failing if we didn't know what it looks like to fail. We wouldn't know that, you know, we wouldn't know what poor is if we didn't have people that are both wealthy and people that are poor, or both people that are wealthy and poor. People that hang out right next to my truck drive me nuts. What not to do. Anyway, yeah, I think I changed his mind on the whole matter, and he goes, that makes a lot of sense actually, because this guy that I was talking to, see, like, I stopped at a truck stop a few nights ago, last night. Excuse me, and there's like 8 or 9 of us around this trucker counter, and we're all talking about stuff like this, and, you know, politics, religion, and all that. And I try to bow out when politics and religion start entering the conversation, because I have my thoughts, and they're always going to be different than somebody else's, and it's inevitable an argument ensues. I would rather not do that. I would rather just talk to somebody and without argument. You know, there doesn't need to be argument. Disagreement's one thing. Only if two people can disagree with open minds and possibly learn from each other. But just flat out argument, you're wrong, I'm right, you're stupid, I'm not. that doesn't get anybody anywhere, and I have no desire for it, so I just bow out. But last night was kind of cool because a guy was open-minded enough to listen to what I had to say, and I think I might have changed his mind on the whole matter. Well, it turned out he grew up in a really, really bad household, got beat a lot. Sorry about that. The guy, the little electric, one of those little smart cars, had a speaker bigger than its own tires, for God's sakes. Yeah, he didn't grow up in a very good environment whatsoever, and he ended up having kind of a bad outlook on life because he didn't know how to stop and be thankful for the environment, albeit bad, that he grew up in. I mean, there's some undesirable situations in my childhood, and I look back and go, okay, so if I start to be like that, then I'm going to change that. You know? In fact, I saw situations in my childhood that were undesirable, and I started becoming that person. I started emulating, unbeknownst to me, the person that I saw being undesirable. And my wife said, yep, that's who you were. I changed it a lot of years ago. In fact, I was just talking to her today, and she says, yeah, that's exactly who you were. And I'm like, no kid, that's not very nice, you know. I mean, the situation that I was in, it wasn't very nice. And she says, that's why I said something and you changed it. You don't remember that? I was like, nope, I don't have any clue about that. I put it out of my mind. So, for whatever reason, I don't know. I'm probably going to talk to a psychologist and say, but if it's not there, it's not there. I live a good life now, you know. And I don't have any resentments. I have no resentments whatsoever for my childhood, for the way I was brought up. I was brought up really good, to be honest with you. You know, a lot of people go, oh, God, white privilege. No, it wasn't white privilege. It was just the fact that, you know, I was born into a family with a mom and a dad. You know, I had two brothers. And we were brought up pretty good. I mean, everybody has their faults. Everybody does, you know, short of excellence. We always try to strive for excellency, but everybody falls short of excellency. But again, if everybody was perfectly excellent in raising their kids, nobody would have any kind of measure of who not to be, of how not to raise kids, you know. Like right now, we have an administration that's messing up so bad that and it's sad too, because I mean, I'm not going to get into politics, but I will say this. If you see a person in a place of authority that has clear signs of dementia, clear signs of memory loss, he should not, by any means, regardless of his political affiliation, his religious affiliation, I don't care if he's black, white, yellow, gray, red, doesn't matter, should not hold the codes to the nuclear codes. Shouldn't have the keys to the dangerous truck if you don't have it up here. So now we know what not to vote for. We know what not to have, so we can be thankful that we're enduring this winter of, you know, 4 month or a 4-year winter that we're in right now in the White House. You know, be thankful for that, so we excuse me, so we know what not to vote for in the future. But I mean, keep them. If you're a praying person, keep that man in your prayers, man. I don't wish harm upon anybody. I wish him nothing but the best. I wish he was had a different mindset about things, and I wish, you know, instead of being selfish, you know, ask not what you can do for your country. Ask what you can do for your. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. That needs to be at the forefront of his thoughts, but it's not. But we have our state and local governments in many states that are pushing critical race theory, pushing LGBT education. First of all, you know, those are people that need to be prayed for, and need to have, you know, people need to wish nothing but the best for those people. But a child, that's something that's kind of borderline. Should we be thankful for it or not? Children are being hurt, and we don't need that. We need that to stop. You know, a child shouldn't be gay or straight. He should be a child. She should be a child. The child should be a child. That's what I'm trying to say. Go out and play with sticks and rocks and have fun out in the field and ride your bikes and get dirty and be a kid. You know. But that's kind of getting into the political realm, and I'm just going to back out of that. So, yeah, that guy he ended up being a really cool dude. He walked out of there. The last thing he said to me when he walked out, got up and he paid for his bill and walked out. He looked at me and he goes, "Hey, Cowboy," and I looked over my shoulder and I said, "What?" He goes, "Then what?" I thought, yeah, right on. Then what? That's a then what campaign, man. You got to ask then what. I mean, doesn't matter what you got on your mind. Doesn't matter what thought crosses that gray matter. You got to stop and say then what. If we act upon our thoughts and our ideas, we first got to say then what, and that means what kind of a consequence is our action to thought going to cause upon the economy, going to cause upon our environment, our habitat, our own persons. Is that right? Our own persons, people. Getting dry mouth, something terrible today. Anyway, I thought that was a interesting thing that's been on my mind for a while, and now that I got off my chest and onto YouTube, y'all can listen to it. Y'all can go down there in the typeroo and tell me what, in the comment section, and tell me what you think, if you think anything. I know these are kind of boring, and they're not, they're intriguing to me. My mind, my hat gets a little bit tight when I start thinking about this because my mind just swells. And I think people need to stop and think about these things. It's slow down and slow your roll and think about these things. I think I'm going to talk about one of those. That's a van. I don't pick up my phone so you can't see it, but it's a van life. I'm seeing a lot of this stuff. I priced them. Those daggum things go for $35,000, $40,000 a piece, basic. And they're fully loaded. Every time I see them, they're livable. You can live in the damn things. And I see dozens of them every day. So it's kind of intriguing. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll do my best to keep the rubber side down. You do your best too. Oh my goodness sakes. Good God, man. I had to pause the video there for a little while. I guess I better talk about this now before I get off. See how it's fresh on my mind now. If you're driving down a 2-lane highway, both lanes going the same direction, and you're in the hammer lane, which is the left lane, and you're passing trucks, if you see a left blinker come on a truck, it's not because we're trying to be a jerk. I've talked about this in the past. It's because we got to get the hell away from that shoulder because there's somebody parked on the shoulder. The wind that comes off of these trucks when we're going down the road, if you're sitting on the shoulder and like you're between that vehicle and the white line, the wind that comes off of these trucks can damn near knock you on your butt. So that's why we get over. And it's actually in a lot of states, most states, that's the law. Either get over or slow way down. Well, when you got 65, 70 mile an hour traffic in both lanes, and you got a tail of traffic off your tail that's going a mile and a half behind you, you can't just slam on your brakes and slow down. You're going to cause a wreck. So you got to get over. So when I put my left blinker on to get over, and plenty of time to get over for this truck on the shoulder, this jackwagon over here in the back closed the gap real fast, stepped on her gas and got up there and got right beside me. Now I have nowhere to go. She got up right next to my driver door and saw that I was trying to get around something on the shoulder. She backed way off. She slammed on her brakes. She prevented me from getting over, and then she caused a danger to those drivers behind her, dozens of cars behind her, by slamming on her brakes. In my opinion, seeing as how I get paid to drive truck, now it's a professional opinion, that woman shouldn't even have a license in her pocket. Either that, or she needs to go out and get retrained on driving a four-wheeler down the daggum highway. It's astonishing how many people are so ignorant on driving. And I don't mean ignorant as in you're just a stupid idiot, nobody loves you or anything like that. I'm talking about a true lack of knowledge, true ignorance. They get their license based on the fact that they can drive it, 20 miles an hour around a few obstacles in town, and they got some basic knowledge on signs and lane usage and all that kind of stuff and local laws. Then they get out here on these federal highways and they have no clue what they're doing. Most people don't have hardly any clue what the hell they're doing on a highway. They don't understand following distance, lane control, stopping distance. They don't understand gross weight, the difference between gross weight of their car and the gross weight of my truck. They got gross pounds, I got gross tonnage. And I'm not very heavy, so it's going to be a lot harder for me to stop this truck, because if I slam on the brakes, I'll just go skidding. I'll slide right across this ground like I was on ice. The heavier you are, the heavier the truck, the easier, more efficient it is to stop. You step on the brakes and it's gonna stop. Especially if you use your Jake brake in concordance with your air brakes, you're gonna stop. Way more efficient. But it's examples like that make me want to do a full hour video on how to drive on freeways, but that's too long. That's way too long. I don't want to bore you with too much, We're already at 17 minutes on this one, so I'm going to wrap this up. So anyway, be thankful for the bad stuff in your life, because it gives you a measure of who not to be like, and how to be a better person. When you get out here on the freeways, drive with your head up here and not underneath you. Kind of common sense, I think, but take into consideration everything around you and what the possibilities of how much damage there is at hand if things were to go south. So thanks for watching, and we'll talk at you later.